Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. All this week in the run-up to Easter, we're looking at the Easter people, those people whose lives intersected with the life and death of Jesus and the events around his passion. Those people, those Easter people who became part of the accounts of this incredible week, the week in which salvation became an accomplished reality for us. And today we're looking at somebody who doesn't sound like one of the superstars of the faith. This is not somebody who's one of the main characters, the leading man or the leading lady, because she's known as the other Mary. One of those scripture readings that we always read, in our church anyway, on Easter Sunday morning. And I think it's one of those, like some of the Christmas readings, you just hear it again and again read. It's often in quite a formal way. But it begins with Matthew 28, verse 1. After the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. Now, who is this other Mary? It's not Mary, the mother of Jesus. It's not that Mary. It's not Mary Magdalene, because she's with Mary Magdalene. It's not even Mary, Mary and Martha, Mary who was the sister of Martha and Lazarus. It's not that Mary. It's the other Mary. In fact, if we were to go back just into Matthew 27, we would read about the women that were there watching Jesus as he was on the cross. Even when the apostles had run away, the women stuck with him and stayed there and mourned at the foot of the cross. And we're told about them, and one of them, there's Mary, mother of Jesus, there's Mary Magdalene, but there's Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, who is also called in scripture, elsewhere called Mary, the wife of Cleopas. And this is who the other Mary was. Now, she was the wife of Cleopas. Cleopas was also known as Alphaeus, and Cleopas is abbreviated from the full name Cleopatras, which means the glory of the Father. It's actually the male version. Cleopas is the male version of the female name Cleopatra. And it means the glory of the Father. And of course, Cleopas was one of the two men that Jesus would appear to on the road to Emmaus on that first Easter Sunday. And Mary and Cleopas, or Alphaeus, were the parents of one of the apostles, James. No, not that James, but the other James. The other Mary was the mother of the other James. Not James, the brother of John. No, they were the sons of Zebedee and Salome. And neither was this James who wrote the book of James. That's James, the brother of Jesus. But this is the other James. Sometimes called in some lists of the apostles, I always felt rather unfairly, he's called James the Less, or James the Younger. Can you imagine being called the Less? I mean, imagine if they're giving a list of people that were at a meeting and they said, and there was Nick, and everyone looks at, because they know who that Nick is. He's a famous Nick. And then they say, and then there was Nick the Less. How would I feel being described as Nick the Less? Well, James the Less was the son of the other Mary. In fact, John describes her as being a sister of Mary, the mother of Jesus. But that's not treated as a claim to fame. Sometimes I've seen churches proudly proclaiming that they've got a guest who's the daughter of some well-known teacher, or the cousin or the great-grandson of some great missionary. I don't think God's impressed by those kinds of family connections. So she's not treated, her claim to fame is not that she's the sister of Mary, the mother of Jesus, but rather she's the other Mary, but she's the witness. She's the faithful one. She's one of these women who followed Jesus all the way from Galilee so that they could minister to Jesus and his disciples. And she was a witness at the cross. When the disciples ran away, the other Mary, the big names have gone. John and Peter have gone scurrying away in fear that they'll get arrested and crucified as well. And when the big names ran away, the other Mary is still a witness at the cross. And then when Jesus was raised from the dead on that Sunday morning, the first two people who see him risen from the dead is Mary Magdalene and Mary, the other Mary, The Mary who wasn't in the limelight, but the Mary who had the honor of being one of the first two people to see Jesus after he was raised from the dead, to be one of those first witnesses of the resurrection. You know, God has this wonderful way of taking people who others don't think are important, people who are just the other Mary, people who are the less. God has a way of taking those people and using them in incredible ways. And I just want to speak today to anyone who feels like you've not been one of the high flyers. Sometimes you feel like other people get all the fuss and all the attention. But I want to say that God will use you. God will use you in an incredible way. Just like he gave the honor of being one of the first two witnesses to his resurrection, he gave that honor to the other Mary. May God bless you today, and please join us again tomorrow for our final episode in this series of Easter people, as we continue looking at those people in Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.